So I don't feel like anything feels like enough anymore, no matter how much you achieve. I feel like the more that you try and achieve things in life, the further the goalpost moves. Every time you get to the point where you're like, right, I'm on the journey, and this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm after. I want to get this. And the journey tends to be like the whole experience, because once you get it, you're like, right, what's next? But already by that point, you're already thinking about what the next thing is anyway. So then you're on to the next thing. So it's like a continuous conveyor belt of like one thing after another, just constantly striving to achieve something else. And like, what happens when you get to the point where like there's nothing left to achieve? Like, what happens then?
Can you give me an example?
Well, yeah.
Of what you've been building where you don't feel satisfied.
So what I've been building, I don't feel satisfied. So obviously my whole life really, but if you want to put it down into, instead of the macro and put it into the micro, like, it would be the yearly achievements, like what I want to achieve in a year. So like when I write my business plan down, I want to have 4 properties on the books this year. I want to have worked with, 10 investors this year. I want to have raised £500,000 in finance this year. I want to have like financial stability this year. Those are the things that I sort of look to do. And then like inside every one of those, there's like smaller things that you have to do to achieve those big things. And every time that you go through the smaller tasks to achieve the bigger ones, what you find is that if you've got a clear plan, you get to that point there, and then you achieve that big task, and you're like, it doesn't seem to be like any payoff. There doesn't seem to be like that sort of, dopamine hit that you're expecting to have, like, and that extended period of time where you just go, you let your breath out for like 6 months. You go, but it doesn't happen. Like, it never happens. It's constantly just grind. Like, I don't know what it is about us. Like, we're just wired to do that. And I don't know if everyone feels like that, or whether it's just like people who are like, entrepreneurship, like have that mentality about them, whether they're like, they're the ones that want to strive to get this and to get that and to keep moving and to better their lives and that. The goal is that I want to live a comfortable life with my family. That's the goal. And there's 101 ways to skin a cat to get there.
But what's the irony and the detriment in between? Because you want to live a comfortable life, don't you? But then you have to give up a certain point of your life. Stop pointing at me. That's Luke ticking for anyone who's listening. You have to give up time to build your business, to create these things and make them happen, don't you? But in essence, you're making yourself uncomfortable. You're taking yourself away from family to make it happen.
Yep.
Now, when you're planning these tasks and these goals, do you think about those things at the time?
No.
Why?
I don't know. I don't, because I guess I look at it like my time to spend with my family, like, and have that sort of, that laid back, relaxed sort of luxury sort of lifestyle. It isn't now. Like, now is the foundations building. Now is the hard times. Now is where big decisions and tough decisions need to be made. And, quite often that means sacrificing time with my family. But the goal effectively is to spend more time with my family.
Yeah.
So you have to almost run away from your goal to be able to achieve it. You have to go the opposite way. And anyone who knows who's built a business in life, they'll understand that. They'll know that it's difficult. It's not easy. It's not very often that you find that someone comes into a business and they start it up from scratch and it just takes off and they ride the gravy train forever. That just very rarely happens. It does happen, but it very rarely happens.
It's not sustainable if it does a lot of the time.
No, because the business models, when you ride the gravy train early on, the business models tend to be finite in time. So it tends to be something that people need now, but maybe don't need going forwards in the future. Yeah. So
I've seen all sorts of analogies. One of them is the building the roots of a tree, for example, where the roots take ages to develop, don't they? And the stem, the stub of the tree is tiny for a long time.
Yeah, I think I've seen the same thing actually. Yeah,
but then it builds up and then it turns into a massive oak tree. Takes 100 years.
And that's all to do with perspective, isn't it? Because you look at the oak tree, and I've seen something similar to that, where you've got an oak tree, big established oak tree on one side of the hill, and then the other side of the hill, you've got like a little sapling, which is like sticking out of the ground, and you can't. All you can see is those two things, yeah. But then it says like, here's the mindset shift, and then it shows the soil underneath the ground, and you can see that the root structures are both the same, but it just means that this one's had more time to grow.
Yeah.
So as long as your roots are good, as long as your roots are well established, then it doesn't matter if you've got a sapling at the moment or whether you've got a red oak that takes 10 people holding hands at the bottom to get around. No. You know, the fact of the matter is, it's putting those roots in place, and it's building from that point there.
But what social media doesn't want you to see is the way that it affects that little sapling who's building its roots and all of the things around it. For example, like we've talked about in previous episodes, our family, and then the toll it takes on us and our body. That's what we face here at Mind Over Mortar. So when you're writing down those targets, what makes you write down those targets specifically? I know they will obviously be dependent on what's going on at the time, but what makes you go, that's a good idea, I'm going to do that?
They tend to come from the bigger goal. When I'm mapping out like a big achievement in my life that I want, I'll look at what it takes to get to there, that I think, you know, and I'll do a load of research into it, and I'll look at how other people have done it as well. And I'll go, oh, well, they've done this, they've done that. And I'll try and get as much information as I can, and then just pick the best information from those. So it really comes down to what my overall goal is and what I want the outcome to be, and how that looks will determine what those smaller steps to build it will look like.
Now, is there a definitive point when you go, okay, that goal is ticked off, I feel really good, I feel like I'm going to enjoy it, I feel comfortable, I feel like I can relax, I can enjoy my family?
No.
No. Because I haven't experienced that yet.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, have you ever hit a goal and then gone, well, it doesn't feel like I expected it to?
No, I haven't yet. In my brain, there's always a goal, right? And there's that point, that drop-off point where you jump off the cliff into the sea, and it's nice and blue, and it's clear water, and you're sitting there on your sunbed drinking a cocktail. But it's never happened yet. All it's done is basically like ground me down into to this point where I'm like, okay, now I've got kind of tendonitis because I've been physically working on doing my house up. I've got sleepless nights and anxiety because I'm building my business. But at the same time, in those minor little pockets where I do sit back and I go, hang on, a year ago, I didn't even own a MacBook Pro, for example, and I didn't know how to use Apple devices because I'd never had a reason to. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's not until you actually sit back and then look at it, but we don't take the time to sit back and then sit and actually look through our phone and go, oh yeah, I did that like only literally 2 weeks ago when we said about, when I walked in the door and I was like, oh, it's 2 weeks ago we were recording. Lots changed in 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the opportunities that we've got come up, but I still don't feel any more satisfied than I did 2 weeks ago.
I think that's the problem, because what I was going to do is I was going to reframe that question, and I was going to say, right, forget about like business as such, like, and what you're doing now, thinking back to something else in your life. Have you ever achieved something but it didn't feel like you expected it to? And maybe that might be one of your hobbies, that, you know, whether it was like extreme sports hobbies that you've done in the past, yeah, where you've gone, I want to learn that looks pretty cool, and then you've learned it, you've bought all the equipment and that, and then you've done it, but then you haven't continued doing it.
That's been the story of my life. Which is why I got to a point where I suddenly thought this isn't sustainable anymore, because I wasn't getting any satisfaction. So I used to race motocross. I competed in motorbike trials as well when I was younger. Used to love it because it's an adrenaline rush, right? But then I realised that it just cost me money and would just end up breaking my body. So I bought a road bike instead and started doing track days because it was faster. So I got more of an adrenaline rush, and then that's just expensive. And then I smashed myself up and thought, hang on, maybe I should start to do something different. Then I thought, you know, I'm going to learn to windsurf. I'm going to learn to kite surf. I haven't had time to do them either because they don't give me the satisfaction, because I learned to do them and now It's like, okay, well, that's done. But they are kind of physical sports that, to me, now I see, they just cost me money. They don't actually give me a return. So what I'm now doing is I'm building businesses that will then give me a return. But the problem with a business is they don't give you an adrenaline rush, he says. They probably do.
Comparison and dopamine, isn't it? It's like...
Yeah, they don't give you an adrenaline rush to jump on a motorbike in the same way.
Do you think it's that things like, I say, comparison and dopamine, when you're looking at how other things in your life engage you, like if you look at social media, for example, yeah, right, how that's constantly like stimulating you. So things like that keep your attention, keep you stimulated, which is what we hope is happening here. But you know, but it might not be.
Well, if people are watching and they can see how like anxious and tight I am right now, that'd probably be quite funny to watch. So.
Yeah. But do you feel like it comes from that need for constant stimulation, which goes back, you know, relates quite well to like the ADHD side of things. Like, you know, that's definitely a big trait for people with ADHD, is that they need consistent stimulation, and it's the same for kids. And I think it comes down to like a regulation in your own brain. It's your ability to regulate your emotions and stimulate yourself. Where, you know, children, for example, like my son, my 4-year-old, yeah, he needs stimulation. He needs like me to be playing with him. He needs like things to do, and I don't necessarily give him all of that all the time, for two reasons. One is that I might not be able to, I'm not there or whatever. But two, when I do give him those you know, moments of stimulation, I do stuff with, because I will go out of my way and I'll go and help my son, or, you know, go and play with him or whatever. But when I've done that, I've spent half an hour doing something with him that's mind numbing normally.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I really do enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
I don't.
Oh, I do.
I don't. And I'll
go
tell
play
you
Boggle
why.
or something like that.
This is going to make me look horrendous as well. I absolutely adore my son, and I want to provide the best life I possibly can for him, because he's utterly amazing. But I hate those times, those mundane times of playing with him, because I'm not achieving something.
Yeah.
Even though I am achieving something, I'm spending time with my son. He's developing, he's growing, but I don't get an imminent response of, oh, I've actually actively achieved something today, physically achieved something. And this has always been my problem. And I now think it's an ADHD problem. So when I was in engineering, for example, doing my apprenticeship, I loved fabricating with steelwork, because I got a result. I got something physically in front of me, like, perfect, I built that. That's great. That's a good feeling. That was a satisfying feeling. With deeper satisfaction, like your son, or like building a business, which is a long-term project, I don't get that dopamine hit like seeing that thing that I built, even though my son's right in front of me. So it is kind of the same. But because obviously life takes so long for him to develop, I don't get that satisfaction. So I get so bored and I get frustrated because I'm not pushing forward. I'm not achieving things. It's at a slow pace. And then I get wound up with myself, because I'm like, no, I should appreciate the time of my son. But I want to be running at 100 miles an hour to try and achieve a physical thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and I think that a lot of that's to do with how we were brought up, the way that we were brought up in the era where like television was like a big thing, yeah, right? And we used to sit and watch TV, and, you know, before school, after school, when you're eating your dinner. And a lot of families, you know, grew up in the 80s, like when you could afford to have a TV in your house. It was like it was their source of entertainment. But what that done is that created a consistent source of stimulation. So then when it was down to you to stimulate yourself, it became difficult. This is something that I've developed with like my family as well, and the dynamic. I realised it. So we don't let our kids watch loads of TV. Like, we very, very much limit them to what they're allowed to watch. Like, they get up in the morning, they're not allowed to watch TV before school, before breakfast. You know, because I found that if you put the kids in front of the TV and then ask them to eat their breakfast, they're like,
yeah, I'm exactly the same.
And they don't eat. So they're like, oh, hang on a minute, like this is taking over their full capacity. Like their bandwidth is not able to process anything else other than what's going on that TV screen.
Yeah.
So like eating their breakfast, it takes them like half an hour, whereas it's just a bowl of cereal, which should take them 10 minutes, right? So we've decided, me and Jess, we decided that we were going to like literally not let them do that. And she's really good at doing that as well. Even recently, we've seen that it's made a difference. Because I don't want my kids to grow up in a society where it's normal to just like be glued to a TV screen. And I'd say even more now so these days, that's more prominent in kids, in adults, in everyone. So when me and my son like play games together and stuff like that, I will do that with him for a period of time, yeah? And then once we've done something together or whatever, you know, I'll say, right, okay, that's enough, or, you know, you can carry on playing. And he'll go, well, he'll want the constant stimulation. He'll want more from me, yeah? But that's where I'll push back. And it might sound really hard, but I'll say to him, you go and entertain yourself. If you're bored, you go and find something to do now, right? To entertain yourself. I'm not going to be your source of entertainment. I love playing with him. I do. But I think it's also important to teach them that they cannot rely on everyone else around them to stimulate their life, because otherwise what you end up having is like social media personalities and people who have that constant like presence in their life of a camera in their face, and they want to be known, and that's how they get their dopamine hit in life. That's how they get their stimulation. So they literally present their whole life on the internet. And it's not a bad thing for some people. It works, you know. But I don't want my kids to be doing that.
Isn't it ironic that we're on a podcast right now doing exactly that?
It is very ironic that we're on a podcast doing that.
I completely agree with you. I actually, Jade and I, we talked about removing the telly from our house yesterday, because we have our one child. He's 3, and I need him to be bored because I don't want him being the same as me. I do, but I don't, because I don't want him feeling exactly what you said, where he has to be stimulated all the time. And he's very good at going in the garden and just playing in the sandpit like a child should. However, I do worry if it's going to have the opposite effect, where we go too extreme, where he then becomes antisocial because of it.
Because he doesn't have a brother or sister, does he?
No, maybe we will one day. I
was going to say, will he?
Better ask, wouldn't you?
Will he have a brother or sister one day?
I don't know. It's up to my wife. I'm just the provider.
You're just the provider.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit more to say than that. You're not just a donor, for God's sakes.
But it will be interesting to see in the future whether he has got a better attention span than me, for example. Now, I am very focused, I would say, in short pockets, where I obsess over something to get it done. But I think that leads on to the original subject of this, with having to move the goalposts because I'm not satisfied. Because of those short pockets of energy, I think that is what leads to being unsatisfied, because things that are worth building take a long time, going back to the root analogy.
Yeah.
So what I would constantly do is change and move the goalposts, because if I could get satisfaction quickly, that was a win. Whee! Yeah, right, okay, I'll have a rest now. And that's that up and down cycle that we've talked about many times on here.
Do you think we've just become numb to wins?
I'll tell you what I've done is I've purposely tried to subdue myself so that I don't live that cycle of excitement, euphoria, and then depression. But what's happened is it now means that I don't appreciate anything, sadly. I do appreciate things, but I don't feel it like I used to. And in some ways I miss it. In other ways I know that I'm building something that will last as well, which is kind of a satisfying feeling now, actually, that I'm sitting here saying it.
It's interesting, because I've got a bit of a different perspective on that. I feel like something just clicked in my brain when you said that.
Right.
And that was, my happiness has been zapped through this need to constantly want more and need more, and have these goals to set. And you tell yourself you're going to get that dopamine hit at the end, and you're going to feel happy that you've done it and you've achieved it. And I don't think people take the time to actually sit down and process what I have accomplished, write it down and go, actually, yeah, do you know what? That is good. And you think, I feel like I'm going to be rewarded at the end when I go, right, these are my goals. This is my business plan, yeah, right? This is what I'm going to achieve this year. And then I get to the end of the year, right? And you go, right, well, I did everything that I said I was going to do. Great, I can feel happy now, but I don't. And this is the problem. Like, I don't feel happy. I don't feel happy that I've achieved those things. I don't feel like it's moved the goalpost mentally in a way that I thought it was going to. And it's weird that we live in this world now where there's just so much to do. There's so many things that you want to do in life that nothing feels good enough anymore. Like, nothing feels like it's worth like the journey, if that makes sense. Like, it is worth the journey, but what are you realistically getting out of it? Like, okay, right, well, for me it's time. Yeah, so I want to be able to get more time. Great. So I'll earn more time, yeah, back for my family and me, and then I'm going to be happy.
Well, I've got a question. What are you going to do with the time?
Well, the whole idea of it is that so I don't have to work as much, so me and my family can go on vacation, 3 or 4 times a year. We can enjoy some of the nicer things in life. I can go back to a point of where I don't have to look at my bank account, to be able to go and afford things or go and do things.
That would be nice. But the reason I asked that is because I think for me, I kind of thrive when I've got stuff to do. But the irony of that is that when I've got stuff to do, I then burn myself out. And then I resent it. But when I haven't got stuff to do, I then sit there and go, what can I do?
You feel guilty.
And then I feel guilty, or I feel like a failure because I'm not pushing forward. Which leads me back to why I hate those mundane moments, like we were saying about playing with the children. When I go on holiday, I actually struggle. And we don't go on holiday very much as a family.
You seem like a camper. You seem like...
Yeah. I'd always, so I've always had camper vans. I'm hoping to get a bigger one. That's because when we go away to mountain bike, because I'm then actively doing something. I'm getting a dopamine rush. I'd go away to kite surf. I'm getting a dopamine rush, but I can't go away and relax. I can't do it because I then feel guilty. And then I feel guilty about feeling guilty because I know that that's what my family need. So it's this constant cycle of kind of feeling guilty for getting what I tried to achieve, which is time, like you say, more time to do what you want. But then when I get that time to do what I want, which I don't have at the minute because I'm still building, but I'm scared that I'm going to sit there. It's a bit like retirement, I suppose, isn't it? You see people retire and then suddenly they're like, well, what do I do with my life? Some people embrace it, and some people they're like, this is great.
See, I think you've just hit a very controversial point. And anyone who's retired, who's watching this, I think would likely disagree with you. Because
maybe so.
Everyone I know who's retired, even like my mother and father-in-law, they've never been busier.
No, because you then have to fill it with something to make it profitable. It's not the word, is it?
We'll make it,
to make it fulfilling.
Yeah, but then that goes back to why nothing ever feels good enough, because they've spent their whole life working up to the age of retirement, and that's now should be their time to be able to just do what they want, just relax, not have to worry about getting up early in the morning and going and doing these things. But the problem is, we're not wired like that. We're not wired to just sit down and do absolutely nothing. We want to stand up and we want to go and do things and experience things. We're like, humans are messed up. We are like we are messed up because everything's ironic what we've been saying, like how we feel, but then we say, oh, we want to go and achieve all these things in life, and we know how to get there and we know what it's going to take to do it. But then we're annoyed at the fact that we've got to go and do all of these things to go and get what we're after. So there's always like a point of contention where you're on that seesaw. Like you're never in the middle. Like you're either going up or you're down. Like it'd be lovely to go and live in the middle of that seesaw.
In my brain,
on the
feel
pivot
like
point.
There's a point where you live in the middle, but there isn't.
No, there isn't. I think the middle is a myth. I think it's like the horizon. It doesn't actually exist, but you can see it. But it's just a concept. It doesn't actually exist. Like this, I'd love to live in the middle of the seesaw, right on the pivot point, because that, that's not too choppy over there. But in reality, we don't. We live on the end of the seesaw. And the problem I find with most, like, with the seesaw analogy is that sometimes you're sitting on that seesaw by yourself, and that's when you're in your low points, yeah? And what you have to have in life is other people to be able to jump on the other side of the seesaw and balance it out so that you can have those high points as well. So it's almost like an equilibrium that you share with other people. And, that yin and yang with going up and down. And that's like where family life comes in. That's where friends come in as well.
I got a contrary to that point, though, because I've always been someone that's always tried to do everything on my own.
How are you going? All right, so you're the guy who uses his legs to move the seesaw.
I'm the guy that would come up with some contraption that would then throw a rock on the other side of to lift myself up. Do you see what I'm saying? And then I'd struggle and push, and that's why I've kind of burnt myself out and got tendonitis in my arms and stuff like this. But I used to get satisfaction out of that. But the stupid thing is, it would actually hold me back because it would slow everything down and make things infinitely harder. Then I'd get a bit of satisfaction going, oh yeah, well I designed that and made that and I did it on my own. Specifically me doing up my house and building everything myself, the garage, patio, full gut job, shebang. But a smarter person would utilise people they know. But then I've always felt guilty reaching out to people for help as well.
Well, it's not help if you're paying them.
Well, it's not, no. But I have the same issue. I have the same situation with you, for example. I don't know, I've said this to you before. Like, I feel guilty going, Luke, this is not so much now because we do it a lot.
Oh, no, you should still feel guilty.
Well, you should feel guilty for me being here, pulling these ideas out your brain. So, and that's something that I'm trying to overcome. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a trust issue, if that's
definitely a trust issue,
if that's an ego thing, maybe. I'm not sure.
Definitely both.
But I am starting to work towards working with JV partners and co-sourcers going forward. Maybe a project planner too. Do you know one? No.
Do I know what?
A project planner.
A project planner?
Yeah.
I know a pretty decent one. Project manager.
Sorry, project manager.
Yeah, I know a pretty decent one.
Oh, that's good. So maybe I'll be looking to utilise that going forward as well. Yeah. Try and get over my fear of working with people. So.
Yeah, definitely. But that's like a relevant point as well. I put my services out there to people who need help project managing their jobs that they're doing, and I can provide lots of different levels of management as well. Whereas, someone might just say, "Oh, can you project manage this for me?" And someone goes, "Well, yeah, I can do that for you," and you just get what you get. Whereas, I can tailor it to exactly what you need, what level your input is, and based on the distance I am from the job as well. But there's lots of people who will try and sort of do it themselves because they want to learn and they want to gain the experience. And again, that's absolutely fine. But if you're going to struggle and you're going to do that, it goes back to like it's not being good enough again. Like you'll get to the point where like something goes wrong or you'll fail and you'll go, oh sugar, I should have maybe got someone in to come and do this for me instead of me trying to sort of do it myself. And that's another thing I'm trying to build. But recently I had someone reach out, really lovely guy reached out, and I spoke to him about his project, and he showed me, what he wanted, and was interested in project management. And, I'm not just some geezer who's done a few refurbs. I've got a lot of background in this, and I understand and I know how to make these work. And so the value that I can bring would be much greater than, John down the road who's recently just finished his second BRR, who can project manage it for you. So when I structure it and I send over like what I'd be looking for as far as a fee is concerned, I break it all down for them so that I'm very honest and very open and upfront about it and what I can offer their projects as well. Some people might look at it and go, "But that's overkill." Maybe, but quite often, you'll find that actually it's probably not. There's
overkill. A reason for it because there's been a lot of experience and learning and difficult times for yourself into it, and that's why the fee is justifiable.
Yes,
and that can be applied to any professional, can't it? Something that I've always been on the other side, where I've been like, no, I don't need a professional. I don't want to pay that. And then I struggle. And now I'm at the point where I've beaten myself up and I'm unsatisfied with that process because I know that it has a profound effect on myself and those around me from doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you've got a project, yeah, right, where you're going to make 100 grand, yeah, on this flip, right, and you want me to project manage it, yeah, and I'm going to charge you 10 grand to project manage this job, right, over the next 6 months, whatever, yeah. Do you think that that's expensive? It's 10% basically of the profit that you're going to make on it. Now, some people look at that and they go, well, I don't want to give them 10%. Okay, fine. You don't give me 10%. You go and project manage it yourself, right? And then after all the mistakes and all of the time lapses and the delays and the materials, contractors not turning up and everything else that's cost you money, you're now only walking away with 60 grand because it's cost you 40 grand in like additional bridging fees, in time, downtime, in extra material costs, and because it hasn't been structured correctly. Whereas you could have just earned an extra 30 grand and paid someone 10 grand, which is for their time. Because the thing is, I'm not saying that like I'm better than everyone else. What I'm saying is that my time is valuable because I can save you money with my skills.
Definitely. I did a podcast yesterday for my wedding musician DJ business. It wasn't about that at all. It was about my photographer wanted to host the podcast with ex-couples. So Jade and I went on there. We were talking about it, and we were talking about how much value there is in having professionals do their specific task. And the reason I say that is because I was always a man of jack of all trades, master of none, like we've talked before. Yes, and no, I can do that. And the photographer always gets people come along and say, yeah, but I'll just use my phone. I'll give some phones to guests. They'll be able to take pictures. It doesn't work like that because they're often very frustrated with the result. And for a project like a wedding, which is hopefully a once in a lifetime experience. Now, when it comes to BRR projects, they're not necessarily a once in a lifetime, but they are a significant chunk of your life, and they're a very expensive, important part of it. Having a professional ensure that it's done properly so that you then don't regret it, which is why maybe I'm so unsatisfied now with a lot of things, because I've made lots of mistakes in the process of learning lots of different skills. If you can have a professional mitigate that straight away, yes, you might not know the skill, but do you have to? Business people don't have to know all the skills, do they? They just need the end result. So having a professional like yourself manage that project so it's done correctly is so valuable now. And I've only really come to terms with that in the past few years. Since I've been trying to build my music business, for example, like having me as a musician or a DJ provide the correct equipment, provide the correct structure, logistics, tools to get that job done, to me is now fully worth the money.
That's what I was going to say, because like you specifically, you do weddings. Now, a wedding is arguably one of the most important days of a couple's life, and it takes a lot to make that work. I'm married. You married?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're married.
Far too long.
What was I say?
No, I don't wear that because like calluses on my fingers when I'm doing work, basically. Yeah. So then it gets smashed up, and then
That's why I wear one of the the rubber ones. I don't wear my my actual wedding ring.
I've never seen a rubber ring.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't realise that.
You never been to slip and slide.
I didn't know that was a thing. Honestly.
Yeah, I wear this because my actual wedding ring is like a solid platinum ring.
Yeah.
And it's it's really chunky as well. It's really heavy. So my son hid it a couple of years ago, and it took, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks till we found it. And I was like, right, from that point on, it's going in the safe. And I just bought these like silicone ones.
Yeah, okay.
So I just wear those now. But what I was going to say was that, a wedding is arguably one of the most important days, and it takes a lot that goes into it. So like when you're choosing a venue, when you're choosing the food, when you're choosing the caterers, when you're choosing the DJ, or where you're choosing like the musician who's going to come and play at your wedding as well. Because I've seen, obviously you do DJing, but I've also seen that you do like the very much sort of like bespoke style of
the acoustic guitar, and the roaming musician
walking around like the room and that, like with your wireless mic on and all that sort of stuff. Looks great, you know. So when it comes to like having like a professional sort of do that, it's really important. Like it's really important they choose the right person to do that. And like, for example, me and my wife, we had a DJ in the evening, but we actually had like for the day, one of Jess's friends, Jack, he played the piano for us during like the day sort of thing, and he didn't have to do it. He did it for nothing. We tried to like say like, can we pay you? And he was like, no, it's fine. Like, and like he was fantastic. But like even down to the videographer, like we had a videographer at our wedding, and it was the best move ever. I'll show you the video of our wedding like later on, but it was the best thing ever. So it just goes back to showing like, you know, with a professional in place, it's I think it's really important to pay someone for their time, because they're going to make the product, the experience, the journey, whatever it is that you're looking to get out of it, that much better. And you think about business owners, like you don't look at, you know, big conglomerate companies basically doing all the work themselves because they're trying to cut costs, you know, and they're trying to, well, I mean, obviously they do, but like they don't do it in a way that would detrimentally affect the outcome of the product. So they'll go, right, well, we need an expert to do this or this, or how much does it cost? It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much it costs, because this is what we need. So when we're talking about having like, you know, it being enough and that, so have you ever thought about when you're doing something that relates to what we're talking about, where you're like, do I actually want this, or do I just want the feeling of it?
When an opportunity pops up, I'm of the belief that you have to take it, and then you have to kind of deal with it afterwards. So it's like a spontaneous, oh yeah, I can do that. It's calculated, yes, of course. It probably used to be less when I was younger. But maybe because of that attitude of like having that euphoria of like, yes, I can do that. Yep, we'll sort that out. We'll do it like this. Leave it with me. We'll work out the logistics. Then because I get the crash afterwards of, oh, hang on, I've got to work this out. Like we were talking about in the anxiety podcast, it then causes that anxiety. Now I come to resent the process, so I don't get satisfaction out of it like I used to. So it then creates this sort of this cycle of, okay, well, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? Because the whole point of this is to make my life better, but it's not. But it's all right, because in the future, when I get to that place of comfort and I've got time and I've got all this, hopefully, money to spend and then invest in my family, the irony is of it probably won't satisfy me because it might be too late. But at the same time, having said that, I'm still going to keep doing it because I'm still going to keep pushing. So there's the reality, because I'm now sitting here and I've kind of calmed down from what I was earlier because we've been talking about all these things. I've relaxed a bit more. So now I'm in this better frame of mind. I'm like, no, I'm all right. I can handle that. Let's go and do some more. So then I go, okay. I think, it was Jeremy, mentor Jeremy on the Academy, he says the shiny penny syndrome. You sort of look and you go, yeah, I can do that. I can handle that. Right, that's going to make my life better. So you go, okay, yes, I'm going to do that. And then you sign up to it, whatever. Then it comes with this burden, doesn't it? It comes with that weight on your shoulders. Okay, that's another stone in the rucksack. Yes, you might get that relief when you take the rucksack off for a bit. But then the thing is, you're stronger because you've been carrying around this weight of the rucksack full of rocks, full of these jobs that you've got loaded up on you. So then you think, all right, well, I can handle more. Let's take on some more because I'm now stronger. And then you take on a bigger rucksack. And then the cycle continues. And then you suddenly offload it. Then you take on an even bigger one. But you tell you what, I'm going to climb a mountain with that rucksack as well. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And that's the cycle that I have going on in my brain, I think. And it's good because you get results, you get stronger. You hopefully you build and you make money out of it. But it's a continual cycle, because I feel like when I've got stronger because I've been carrying the rucksack about, I then feel like it's a waste to not do something with it. So then I do more. Maybe that must be a feeling for most business people, because that's why businesses grow, surely, and they don't go stagnant.
Yeah, I think every business owner has the proverbial, bag, but some people's bags are different to others. Some people have a 23 kilo suitcase that they carry around. Some people have a rucksack like yourself. Some people have a duffel bag, and some people have a loot and moving van.
Yeah.
That they're trying to push around.
Yeah.
And it's all just relative to your journey, where you are and what you've got going on. And you can recognise that someone carrying around a fully loaded suitcase is going to struggle a lot more than someone carrying around a rucksack. It's really just about filling your bag to the capacity that you know that you're capable of carrying and handling. And if you overfill the bag, it's recognising, well, I've got to let some go, because I can't continue this journey in a stable way without letting some of the weight out of this bag.
But what if you need all that stuff?
You don't.
For the location that you're trying to get to.
You don't know. This is the thing. Like, you don't need all of that baggage. And if you do genuinely need all of that baggage, then you make separate trips. You don't try and carry it all in one go. You break it down, because otherwise you do burn yourself out, and you do break your body. You break your mind as well, and you break relationships, you break everything around you, because all you're focused on is trying to get up this hill with this bag and do it in one go. Well, no one said you have to do it in one shot. Why can't you take turns? Why can't you go back? Split the bag down into 4 and then do 4 journeys, instead of just doing one big journey with trying to carry all 4 bags.
What if you feel like you're running out of time?
Well, this is no, hang on, because this is important. This is the biggest misconception here as well. You've got 2 people, right? One person's going to try and carry all 4 of these bags up this hill, yeah? And one person's going to carry 1 bag at a time. Now, the person carrying 1 bag at a time has got a bigger journey to overcome, right? A longer distance to overcome. But the guy carrying 4 bags has got a much harder journey to overcome, yeah? Now, what's the chances that the guy carrying 4 bags is going to burn out 3/4 from the top and fail and give up?
Oh, they're a lot higher, yeah.
Right. So that's the important thing there, is that if you overload yourself with too much in your bag, yeah, then you're going to heighten the chances of you giving up. But if you split it down and you take it separately over 4 different journeys, you're still getting to the same goal, but you're just doing it in a more efficient way. And that way, you're not going to burn out, you're not going to collapse, you're not going to fail, and you're not going to give up, because you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's difficult when you've got all 4 of those bags, you're sweating, you're struggling, you're on all 4 knees and you're literally crawling to try to get to the top of this hill. But at some point, your brain's going to start saying to you, you ain't going to do this, mate. It's not going to happen. And then that's when you give up.
Yeah. Well, the problem is when you get 3/4 of the way up that hill and then you got these 4 bags, if you drop one, you're worried about it rolling back down the hill and then going to the bottom of the mountain. So you grasp onto it as tight as you can, making sure that you continue pulling all 4 of those bags up the hill. I suppose that's more, you don't want to let it go, because you don't want to see the progress that you've made lost. So it becomes extremely difficult to let go of.
I think the most,
because you basically you're too far in, to kind of let go. Because you've invested so much time, so much money. So what are you going to say?
So I'm the guy who will go back and do separate trips. I used to be the guy who would carry it all at once.
Yeah.
And I've realised that doesn't work for me, okay? So I'm now the guy who will leave 3 bags at the bottom and take 1 bag at a time. But I'm also the guy that once I finish taking all 4 of my bags, I'll go back and I'll go and help the guy who's struggling with all 4 bags on the one go. And I'll take a bag off of him and lighten his load and take that to the top. And that's really important in business, is it's being able to rely on people and have other people be able to take some of that load off of you. The analogy really is about what you're carrying and whether it's sustainable, but it's also about who you're making that journey next to and how they can help you carry that load.
That's great.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, so maybe it's not that nothing's enough. Maybe it's just that we've forgotten how to recognise it.
Maybe so, because end of the day, we're providing for our families. We're trying to grow stronger. We're trying to go to be the full potential of what we can be. So it is definitely worth it. It just probably doesn't come with the same satisfaction as what we were used to when we were younger.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm struggling at the minute. And I'm looking to work on that so I can push forward.
Me too. And I think everyone else as well.
Exactly. So if you're still here, then well, definitely reach out to us, because I'm sure you feel the same as well. So.
Yeah. And as always, link to our last videos over here, and link to subscribe to the channel is over here if you haven't already. Me and Matt have started up a support page, which is sort of like Buy Me a Coffee. Now, it's absolutely no obligation whatsoever to anyone. You guys just watching this is enough for us, but it will help us, continue making these episodes and these podcasts. So if you do have the ability to donate anything towards us and support the podcast, then the link will be down in the description. If not, and you're still just enjoying this content, then that's good for us as well.